So before we begin the Sicha inside, some visuals which we have shown you before, and maybe we'll start with this. In the last few weeks before the Stalkos of the theological Rebbe, I don't know exactly what date, but the last few weeks, instead was a date, Chav Zayin Tevis, so it's mamish days before, inexplicably, the theological Rebbe, and you can see this, signed his name. His name, you can see there's Yosef Yitzchak, but you can see that the Yud of Yitzchak is written out like it's in the Torah. It's filled out and written, the outline actually filled in. Now someone asked the Rebbe, our Rebbe, to explain this, and he said he didn't know. Now it turns out, of course, that he was nostalgic Yud on Yud Shvat. Also, a matter of note which we pointed out in the past is as follows. This is an actual photocopy of the Kuntras, the Maimed, that the theological Rebbe instructed to give out for Yud Shvat and Yud Gimel Shvat, Yud Shvat being the Yartzeit of his grandmother, Rebbe Rivka, and Yud Gimel Shvat, the Yartzeit of his mother, who passed away in New York, the Rebbe Stern Sora, Rebbe Rashab's wife. So this is the front, the front of the Kuntras, very similar to the Kuntras Ubiya. That's, except of course, you will notice that the little embroidered frame is different. That's the theological Rebbe's frame. And the Rebbe has his own, which is actually the Rebbe Rashab's, a story for another time. But the bottom of this page is the inside of this page. And this is what it says. It's signed by the Rebbe as he did all of the Kontresim, all of the Svarim that were published at the best of the previous Rebbe. And he says that we are now herewith publishing this Kontres for the Yartzeits of Yud and Gimel Shvat, which are two Maimorim, Basi Laganim, Yeshevas Beganim. And he says, in accordance with the instructions of my father-in-law, the Rebbe, at the end there's a letter that he had sent to some of the Chassidim, and also, I've also, as according to his instructions, also added some footnotes and notes at the bottom of the page, as well as the customs to be conducted on the Yartzeit. Now, and it's dated Zayin Shvat, but it's underlined there with the fascinating thing, and the viewer can see this, that the word Shlita, for the first time ever before or since, is misspelled, quote unquote, and the Yud is missing. Shlita referring to the theological Rebbe. The Yud, of course, being referring to days, and there were no more days. This was the end of the physical days, and moreover, the letter Yud Shvat. The Chassidim always, kind of noted that the Rebbe is born Yud Aleph Nisan, the 11th of Nisan. And the Chassidim always noted that Yud Aleph goes on Keser. It's a thing the Chassidim would talk about amongst themselves and so on. Not something that was ever formal or official. However, the last Farbrengen that Rebbe Farbrengt physically with us in this world, in connection with the Yartzeit of the Rebbe Chaim Mushke, that's the Farbrengen of the last Farbrengen is Yisrael and Mishpatim, which was Chav Shvat, and then that year Yisrael was Chav Shvat, and he also spoke on the day of the Yartzeit, twice, it seems. It was a Monday, Chav Bei Shvat, night before and the night of, and it was published and edited, and then the Rebbe said much more than we had ever, as it were, dreamed to say. So, without going to the whole Arichas, we're going to look at some of it. It's in Yiddish, so I'm sorry, I'll say it in the Yiddish, and then and we'll translate. So you want to look first at page, the whole Arichas here, we're only going to do part of it on page 348, Ois Zayin. You all got a paper. And then it's promised an answer that I just saw yesterday. I'm printing out 10 copies of it, and you'll see how amazing it is. The answer that someone asked Rebbe, what's the avodah of our generation? Let's look at Oy Zion on page 348. In the Deref and the Sid Reinu, in the generation of the Nesid Reinu, that's the way the Rebbe referred to the Fidik Rebbe as the leader of our generation, Gufer. So in his epoch, his generation, there are several stages and epochs. And in general, Drei Shlavim, 3 stages in his Nesiyas. And they are as follows. Aleph, Yom HaSidi L'Chodesh Achad Osar, the 10th day of the 11th Shvat, Yud Shvat Tovshin, and he puts in italics Tovshin Yud, the 10th of Shvat 1950 Tovshin Yud. What is that? The Siyum. Can someone just pass me a tissue box, please? Thank you. The Siyum at Kufa von Avodah von Chak Bori V'Chome Yadmun Sidereinu B'Chai Chayus Bal Medain. That's the conclusion of the avodah of the father-in-law in this world. That's one epoch, the end of his. I just want to point out because previously it actually was a bombshell. I remember when I was still in Australia hearing it. It was Yud Beis Tammuz that the Rebbe spoke about the 3 epochs within the Fidik Rebbe's lifetime: Russia, Poland, and then America, and explained the difficulties and challenges of each 3. It was a Yud Beis Tammuz in the probably Lamed Hey, and 75 or 76. And the Rebbe said, most unusual, the Rebbe said, I can put it on tape too, that he explained the Mesiras Nefesh and the challenge of each one. Unique, obviously, the Mesiras Nefesh of Russia doesn't have to be elaborated upon, but the Mesiras Nefesh of the epoch in Europe, in wars in Poland, was Vayikanda by Echav, the envy of his brothers. Of course, his name was Yosef also, and that was very difficult. At any rate, going further. So here he's talking about 3 epochs and a different, starting from Yud Shvat. So Yud Shvat ends his avodah in this world. Beis, the Yom Lemachar. This is unbelievable things. The Yom Lemachar, the next day, after the Stalkos. Yom Achad Asar L'Chodesh Achad Asar, the 11th day, the 11th month. In the bracket, the erste ganze Tag Lachrei Stalkos, the first complete day after the Stalkos. I don't know if he brings it here. I'm going to say it now before I forget. Yud Shvat, Yud. Remind me when it comes to the Ha'or of Yud Aleph Nisan. Remind me to talk about Yud and Yud Nisan. And at any rate, so now Yud Aleph Nisan is the first full day after the Stalkos. Yud Aleph Shvat, B'miyuchad b'shnas hashtei Asar, especially in the 11th year, Tovshin Yud Aleph. And it hat sich angeheben der Hemshech v'chidush von a neue Tkufa. When then they began the Hemshech and the novelty of this new epoch. He's talking about all in his Nesiyas. The Rebbe is talking, ascribing this to the previous Rebbe. The Nitlam Ba'odis from them Deir Shvi. Nitlam Ba'odis is a play on words. It says about Wednesday that Nitlam I'm sorry. Yeah, that this is not a play. Nitlam Ba'odis, that that Wednesday of creation was when the sun and the moon were placed in the heavens. So this is now the new generation from the Deir Shvi from Alten Rebbe. These words that it's 7th generation referring to this our generation, but this is all the previous Rebbe's Nesiyas. So now there's the new luminaries in the sky. New level of luminary of the seventh generation of the Alter Rebbe, or the Deir Shvi from Baal Shem Tov, or the 10th generation of the Baal Shem Tov. So that's the second epoch. In summary, the second epoch begins the next day, particularly the 11th day of the next year, when it was the official. He doesn't say this, but that's when he formally accepted the Nesiyus. It was the next year. And then a third epoch. What's the third epoch? The Tkufa, the Istalkos from Bitter Shachakad Chom Yad Mur. And then the third epoch of the previous Rebbe's Nesias is the passing of his daughter, B'Yom Chav Beis L'Chodesh Achad Osar, the 22nd day of the 11th month, Chav Beis Shvat Tavshin Mem Ches, some 4 years earlier. So this is the 10th generation, in a way. Yesh Loimer, the 10th from the Baal Shem Tov, starts after her Istalkus, which is an allusion to his own, obviously. He once said that, in fact, the 10th generation. Yeah, I don't know. The answer to that we don't know. Shmini is even higher than the
No, I mean the Avod, the holding of
no, it just takes Shvi to the next level of Blikvol, Shmini. I'm not going to venture explanation because he didn't say the Shmini thing, but he did talk about the Sidi of the Baal Shem Tov. I don't recall when. Maybe in this Rabbi, I don't think so. V'yashloim as the Dreit Kufes, these three epochs. Let's summarize them. The first epoch, ending Yud Shvat. The second one, the next day. The third one, next day, next year. And the third one after the Stalkus of the Rebbetzin, the son of the daughter of the Frierdiker Rebbe. These three epochs express in general drei darges in the Msim Avodah, in concluding the whole Avodah from last is which is to make this world a home for Hashem, which is, as it's explained earlier in the Fabrengen, Hamshachas Bechinas Achadasar. The whole Avodah is to draw the level of 11, which is beyond Ishtal Shalos, and draw it where in Bechinas Asar, that fuse and permeate and pervade Ishtal Shalos. In brackets, from Bechadei as Dazal Zayin Begid Atachtoinim, in order for this to be effected in a way that it permeates the boundaries of creation, the respecting the borders of creation. Therefore, Dav the Avodah Zayin Darga Achadarga L'mata L'mayla. So this has to happen in an orderly, structured way. What has to happen? This fusion of infinite and finite itself has to happen in a structured way, because the whole point is that it should truly fuse with creation. And what are the three levels? One after the other, higher and higher. As expressed in the three dates, Aleph, the Avodah, Bizdem Sim B'Shleimus Avodah. So the Avodah, all up to and including its conclusion, in Olam. First you got to deal with creation per se, with the world. And that's expressed B'Dargis Osar. That's expressed in the number 10. Why? Because 10 is, tell me friends, obviously. Complete what? Complete what? Ishtal Shalus. That's what you're saying. Yeah. So first of all, we have to work within creation itself. That's 10, right? That's the first step. Yud Shvat. In order to prepare the world. This also parallels the avodah of the Avos before Matan Torah. Has to be this avodah to prepare the world. To ufnem and them gili to receive the revelation of Chadasar, represented by the number 11, which is beyond Keser, Pnimis HaKeser, Elikus Shalamaylam Olam, Elikus higher than the world. When as on this battle of enemies, we don't want that the infinite revelation should implode and dissolve creation. That's not the point. It's direp. Creation should not be in this battle. This is given by Matan Torah, which Matan Torah, even though there was the avodah of the others before, but still, at the moment of Matan Torah itself, right, everything, all the laws of nature suspended. We don't want that. But in them, we speak about the Gosha, but Goli der Ingen von Osa. So even though we're preparing for the infinite revelation to follow, but what are we dealing with? We're dealing with nature, with 10. You know, Eser Gufa, but in 10 itself, the whole point is it's not, the avodah is not to develop the world per se, and that's it. To develop teva, to develop nature, isn't about survival and flourishing. They mind survival, but just the flourishing of the natural existence, not B'Shem Elikim itself. In other words, the whole avodah is v'yavet hakeli tzachadasot. So the whole work within creation, that's the first stage, is all with the view and understanding, and that's the whole nature that defines the Avodah. There should be a keli for Achadasar, which means that the Avodah has to be the Mesiras Nefesh, and Shtus the Kedusha, etc. Ubeofen, as is noch alt niket, an Unterschied zwischen Eser und Achadasar. And we, at this stage, but there's still a difference between, they're not fusing and becoming one. There's still a difference between the Avodah with the world itself and preparing it for the revelation beyond creation. There's a distinction. We are following all this, yes? Last time, high time Ugufa, was das darf sein, begit der Tachtoinim, und die Tachtoinim stehen noch in der Darge von Eser und die Achadasar. And this distinction is necessary because we want to respect the boundaries of creation and prepare it for revelation beyond creation. So those boundaries have to be respected, and therefore the distinction between 10 and 11, which means Ishtalshalus and beyond Ishtalshalus, remains cognizant and respected and dealt with. Clear? Then that's a preparation. That's the Avodah of what of Eser. Then comes the Giloi for Achadasar Atzmoi. Then comes the Giloi of the 11 itself. Bees as Esevet Nisale in Achadasar, such the number 10 becomes elevated into number 11. That says Achadasar Peilt Euch in Eser. 11 affects 10. But now in stage 2, Hertzich the Gili von Achadasar. This is the Chiddush now. The infinite, the 11 is being revealed. Asar is Nichlal, and the number 10 becomes incorporated und wird a tail von Achadasar and becomes part of the 11. So this is that middle stage where we're introduced after this whole Avodah of preparing the world. Now comes this revelation that is otherworldly, and true, it's revealed within creation, but because of its the novelty and this new revelation, that first encounter, as it were, what is primarily experienced is the number what? 11, the infinite, the Chiddush of the infinite. Following, then comes the third level, the perfection. What has a page? I made enough copies. Yeah, good. Gimel, page 349, Gimel. Shleimos achi b'rva yichod. Then comes the third stage, the integration, the true fusion. From Asar 10, Mitzadin Yonahu, with its all of its limitations, Unachad Asar, and 11. Mitzadin Yonahu with its, in other words, with its transcendence. So here's the fusion of finite and infinite, each one of them uncompromised. As Tachtoini Mitzadin Yonam, that creation itself, which is Eser, in Yonam Heim, from their very identity becomes Ver and Nadir Le'Yizbarach, they become a dwelling place for Hashem. That's Musa Yizbarach, Hashem's very essence.
This is classic Rebbe, no?
This is classic Rebbe, yeah. That's right. Yeah. That's precisely. Exactly. Zusammen damit, was das is Adir Le'Yizbarach, Rebbe elaborates. On the one hand, together with it's a dir for who? For him. What's the him? Atzmus. In brackets, aber nach als, aber Sunde sagt Vayochel, von dem Dayer Atzmoi, separate from the actually dwelling place itself, bleiben dik bedarges Achadasar, because the him is infinite, Bazunde von because the dwelling place, is still 10. Bazunde von Achadasar, the dwelling place itself, is separate from the 11. But then, wer die dir betachtoinim ein Zach, mit dem Dayer. But then the dwelling place becomes one with the one that dwells in it. As we're learning in the Maimed, Tavshin Chav, the Yeshan Nivra, the physical creation becomes ein Zach mit dem Yeshan Biti, inseparable with the true Yesh. It's worth it. We have time. It's worth learning out of 46. Maybe we'll get back to it. Let's get the flow of things. We'll get the flow of things. Remember to get to there. As I want to do. Get to order 50, that's the blow away order. Page 350. So we're clear in simple words. 10 is the groundwork, preparing, refining the world so that it opens and is ready to receive the infinite. Then comes the next stage when the infinite is revealed, but the primary experience there is the novelty of the infinite, and then third stage is the true integration inseparably of the infinite and finite, where the Yesh Nivra becomes one with the Yesh Amiti, inseparably. The last two things we just spoke about, there are two levels in 11. Two levels in the infinite, as it were. Namely, there is 11 that's comparable to 10. That's why it's called 11. Therefore, because it's somehow connected, the infinite, by the very word infinite, actually we're saying that, not finite, it means a relationship with the finite, therefore it has an effect on 10. Either by imploding it, which happened when Hashem was revealed at Sinai, or then or in a way where there's going to be this profound separation between 10 and 11. So that's the number 11 that's connected to 10, which is higher than 10. So if it's higher than 10, it's going to be mevatel, or even if there's some kind of fusion, you can still there's still a difference, a separation between the infinite and finite. That was like the second stage. Then there's achadas versus merumas of atzmus yisborech. But then there's the true level of infinite, which refers to the Eibish's essence. Antu chad v'lei b'chushban. You are one, but not part of the b'chushban of the cheshbon of numbers. So he's truly beyond infinite and finite and infinite 10 and 11. Und the Rebbe. So this is and this is the true infinite essence, in other words, which can fuse the two. So now we're rephrasing it. The three stages are this: 10 finite, 11 infinite, 11 again, the true 11 essence. That's the third stage. That's what we're just saying now. And therefore, and that fuses the two as one. Because the second stage, when it's only infinite itself, so it has effect on finite by nullifying it, or even if there's some kind of alliance, there's still a separation. But the true fusion, that's Mekayach Ha'atzmus, and that's the true level of Achadasar.
Isn't that beyond 11?
Pardon?
Is that beyond 11? That's beyond 11.
So it's hinted to 11, but it's beyond the whole cheshbon of 11.
Two times 11, half base.
It's Antu Chad, but v'lei b'chushbon. There is a number, as it were, one, but not in the cheshbon. So that's the true 11. So that's the two levels within 11. Now comes the point. Having said that, understand the distinction between the three stages in the Fidik Rebbe's, the Siyus. The Rebbe's all associated with the Fidik Rebbe. Up to his Istalkos, the next day after his Istalkos, and then the Istalkos of the Rebbetzin, his daughter, his Hemshech, Chabad Shvat. Let's see inside. The 10th day, the 11th of Shvat. Gate, so what's that? And again, we saw the Yud. So that gate of them Sivik Maraveda from Bavarazine, the last shrine from Golos. So he's saying, they're saying Yud Shvat of Yud Aleph represents and is the completion of the Avodah of elevating the last remnants, the last sparks of Golos. Tzuk puts in the Kneplach, Tavshin Yud. Tzuk puts in the Kneplach, polishing the buttons. Yud Shvat Tavshin Yud. Ubesigna Omar, and in using the language that we just said before, der Gmar v'shleimes Aveda b'meshach hadoros. This represents the completion of all of history. So Mamshech Zayin, preparing the world to draw down Chadasar, the level of 11 in us and in 10. However, the work isn't complete, the mission isn't over, because we can still identify two things. From the perspective of creation, there's still two things. The limits from the limits of creation. What are the two things? Asiri mitzad ayomim. What do we see? What happens in Shvat, the 10th of Shvat. So you've got 10 the 10th day, days, but an achadasar mitzad achadoshim, but the Shevat is 11. So we're separating 10 and 11. The world's ready, but their revelation hasn't begun and certainly not fused. So therefore, it's the 10th of Shevat. We've got the number 10, preparing now for 11. Val di darge von achadasar, the level of 11, veidaber likim, shalamayla ma'ilam, godliness. This is Matan Torah, higher than creation. Hat noch nicht in ganzen durchgenommen. Olam es has not yet permeated the world, represented by 10. But meilot metaka dem chidush chodesh von achadasar. We have the novelty kind of awaiting. We've got the month of 11. But the avodah gluya, but the conscious manifested avodah mitzad hayomim, in terms of the day of the month. And what does day mean? In what's revealed, day means light, revealed. What are we experiencing now? What's revealed? Bashtet, we're still yet in the darga von Asar 10. But what's the avodah of the Afidik Rebbe during his lifetime, which culminates in the 10th of Shevat? He's mashtanen from the Megillah from Asiri, revealing the number 10, creation to its apex, permeating creation to its apex, engaging creation, B'derech HaTeva, in all of its manifestations, preparing it for the number 11. Explained in other places, the whole Afidik Rebbe translating it to English and really engaging the world, technology and everything, to use it all for Kedusha. Then comes the Yom, but there's still a separation. The 10th day of the 11th month. We've got two things going here. 10 prepared for 11. Then comes the next day. The Yom LaMacharos, the day after the Istalkos. Yom HaChadasar, now we have the 11th day of the 11th month. But that expresses, as a noisef, in addition, as noch der Avodah von Yom HaSinah Echad HaChedesh, in addition to the Avodah of the 10th day of the 11th month. Now the Greichme, now that's all done, now we're ready and to receive Umweltnis alle, and we become elevated. Like them cloud from Bali Makodesh, because everything is sensing Kedusha, Oich to them Giloi, to the revelation, even day. Day, Yom means light, day. The Giloi Yom von Achadasar 11. Beifan Kazeh, Ados hyped off in such a way that it elevates. Oich dem Giloi von Yom HaSidi, it elevates the 10th day. So the Darge von Achadasar, elevating the 10th number of 11. Ma'demot Achadasar, we have 11. Hey Mitzadim Chedesh, both the month, Chedesh HaChadasar, and Hein Mitzadim Yom V'Gilei, it's also manifested and revealed. It's the 11th day, Yom HaChadasar, Achadasar, Sai, Vidas Vet Nimshech Tzum Makabel. We have a level as it's drawn to the receiver. Who's the receiver? That's the moon. Levana Chodesh, that's the month. And Sai Vidas Mitzad the Mashpia, it's also the day. Day is the sun. So the Mashpia and the Makabel are fusing. Month and moon and day, sun, 11th day, 11th month, Chama Yom, but still, but it's not the perfection yet. But das is alza dage von Achadasar v'yishayach ber. That's the lower level of 11, and the lower level of 11 is related. The infinite relates to the 10, but the essence is going to be when on the next tkufa, the istalkus of the Rebbe, the idea of Chav Beis Shvat. We'll continue that tomorrow, but I promised you this answer. I cannot contain myself but sharing it. So please, everybody, take this paper. This is my brother posted it on our family chat. I don't know where he got it from. So it's a kind of an excerpt, as you can see. So the person who wrote it, the shlich, the chassid, starts off Chodesh Kabbalah Sanesias. This is the. Before we go further, just want to tell you quickly. Listen up before I forget. Shlomo Zachi was verbringing sort of the video, and he says, must be in 770. That this is in 1962, 63, they were maybe a little bit later, young Bochrim, and the Nissen Nemanov came. The Nissen Nemanov came for Yud Shvat in New York. The Nissen Nemanov, the Beinani of Tanya, they celebrated Mashpia, one of the greatest Chassidim of the former generation. So they asked him to verbrengen, and he resisted. They finally verbrengt. So Nissen verbrengt till the 11th, till midnight. Nissen was avoid. But one day we'll talk more about Nissen, a book this thick on Nissen. Beinin Yiftanya. This is not exaggeration. Meanwhile, the Ben B'Tzion Shem Tov had come from London, and he's pacing back and forth thinking in the corridor upstairs in 770 during the Fabrengen. When Nissen left, he came in, Chevre, brengt Mashke, all the Mashke, he Fabrengt, and they were dancing on the table till almost just a couple of hours. Maybe he said to lie down till the Rebbe came in to daven. He says, come, we made it back for davening. So this Barcham, they said that till midnight was the Stalkas of the Fiedeke Rebbe. And after midnight was the Kabbalahs and the Siyas of the Rebbe, like this 10 and 11 that we're talking about over here. Okay, friends, let's read it. Chodesh Kabbalahs and the Siyas. This is the month of accepting the Siyas, so the author writes, Kabbalahs and Malchus may we all receive receive, accept, and internalize the Rebbe's Nesiyas, which takes up a whole new epoch now, starting Yud Shvat, and we should internalize the B'simcha B'pnimiyas. So he writes, Asher on the Miskarvim, the Kras Yud Shvat. As we're approaching Yud Shvat, Shemaiti Emesh, I heard yesterday, Beshir, in the Shir from Rav Chassid Etz Shichem Myers, from Holland. She'aviv Daniel Myers Olav Shalom. His father, Reb Daniel, Shoel es Rebbe b'Tavshin Chav Berach. Interestingly enough, this is what we're learning now. He asked the Rebbe in Tavshin Chav, approximately in Yechidus, Ma avodah yikri shel adir shalon uder hashvi. What's the main avodah var avodah? The Rebbe on and the Rebbe answered, Sheikar avodah, the main avodah, shegam im odom nofal tacht Yisrael. The person fell to the lowest depths. Usually Losh is not Meduig. It's really Sheol Tachtis, but anyway. Sheol is a term referring to Gehenna. It means in the
Sons of Korach.
Yeah, but they were on the top of a ledge. Sheol Tachtis means to the depth of hell. All of Lokum, he transgressed. He has to get up, as if nothing happened. And not to be disappointed, sad, depressed. The loss is not meduik, but teichen. To think, mi ani, who am I, uma ani, and what am I? To completely dismiss that, and to be certain, that he is favored. The word favored, literally. A better word, some desired, like everybody else. He is desired, accepted, all these words before Hashem. Because he has to say even more so than everybody else or others. Because he's getting up, and on his failures, he is overcoming it. So on the contrary, he adds in brackets, this idea Tomon is Tomon means literally hidden. The Maimer addition, the first Maimer, Basi Lagani Tavshin Yud.
But it's in Tavshin Chav also.
Yeah.
The wrong anapa, the wrong place.
What's that? The humility.
Yeah.
The false humility.
I'm saying that.
Yeah, except there he doesn't talk about someone who failed miserably. Just stop. Who am I? A person to find it. It's a much whole new level. Even the person felt the shel tachtis. Look at these words here. He's got to get up as if nothing. I'll tell you. I'll just add something. There's a word. I don't know which mashpia said this. I heard this from Zalman. That you take it literally or not literally. It's up to you. But he said even if someone, a person, was nichshel at night in the worst aveda, the next morning he gets up, gewalt, what I do. He has to daven ba'avodah. Davening ba'avodah is the level that a chassid davens. What? Yeah, it's not exempt. Not exempt. And now we're saying you're not exempt, but in a way, if no matter what, it doesn't describe big levels of tshuva. Big levels of tshuva, friends, take a lifetime, penitence, fasting, squeezing out your life. He's like the next second. Get up as if nothing happened. There's no time for this. And do your avodah, and do it besimcha, and then you banish any thoughts of my worthiness, etc. If that comes in, and say, on the contrary, the mile of tshuva, and forward march. And this is unbelievable oasis of encouragement to each one of us, and take it forward. Yitzhar is b'melachtai, and the biggest weapon he has in his arsenal is this. Look what you did, and look who do you think you are, and no. Soldier on the front line, my dear friend, there's no time for this. Get up, pick up your gun, and shoot. And the frontline soldier is the one who's in the battle and brings the victory.
Have a good day, Yankee.
Yankee, have a wonderful day.